In the late 1800s, even up through the 1970s or so, dentists would fill patients' cavities with gold. But gold was expensive, and there was a need for a cheaper substitute. So let's see what this story holds on this episode of Antique Bottle Stories. Our story starts with a guy named Levin Dawson Caulk. He was born in 1841 in Delaware. He became a dentist as soon as he was able to work. The earliest record that I could find was in 1862 when he was 21. The following year, he served in the Civil War. Now, the next record that we see of him is in 1870, and he's married, and he moved to Philadelphia. According to this newspaper article, it says that Dr. Caulk was advised to move west due to his health problems. And during this time, he started to get more interested in chemistry, and he started to tinker around a little bit with different materials for teeth fillings. And he had come up with a synthetic porcelain filling material. In 1877, he decided to return back to Camden, Delaware to begin his production company. So here he is in 1880 with his wife Mary and his daughter Florence. Now, he had a friend named Dr. Garrett Leighton Greer, who was also a dentist, and he also practiced around that area as well. But we'll talk more about him in a minute. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Caulk died pretty young at age 53 of heart disease. This says, it is reported that Dr. Caulk of Camden, manufacturer of dental supplies and doctor of dental surgery, died very suddenly at his home this morning. Dr. Caulk was an elderly man, but he was in fairly good condition yesterday. One report was that he dropped dead while leaving the house. Wow, I guess in 1895, 53 was considered elderly. Well, after Dr. Caulk died, his widow persuaded his buddy Dr. Greer to take over his business. Now, at some point, Dr. Greer's brother Frank married Dr. Caulk's daughter Florence. The two brothers then bought the business from Mrs. Caulk. They moved the plant to Milford, Delaware, and then soon after, their other brothers also joined the company, and they kept expanding. Now, here's a photo from around 1920 with many of the Greer brothers here. I'm pointing to the original two brothers who bought the company. Dr. Garrett Leighton Greer is standing here, and Dr. Frank Greer is sitting here. Now, here's a census from 1900 showing a newlywed Garrett Greer and his wife and new daughter, and they're living with her dad, who was a widow. Now, here's 1905. A guy named George Henson was an editor of a local newspaper, and he quit so that he could be the advising director at the L.D. Caulk Dental Company. By the way, they also mentioned that there's another location in Philadelphia. I'm not sure when that happened. So here's 1909. A Dover estimator and building expert is in Milford and is superintending one of the largest office and factory buildings in Delaware. A 4-story structure for L.D. Caulk Dental Company. It says the company has so developed during the past few years that there is now talk of establishing a branch laboratory in addition to the one in operation in Toronto, Canada. So there's another location. In 1913, the company is sending one of the Greer brothers to Australia on a business trip. Now here's 1914. Employees of the L.D. Caulk Company made up a purse of about $51.75, which they gave to Miss Minnie Wheeler, whose home was destroyed by a fire. Everything she owned was destroyed except for the clothes on her back. The purse was given to aid her in getting clothes and necessities. Now, given that the average pay at this time was a few dollars a day, this was actually a pretty generous donation. The 1914 directory shows Frank and Garrett in Philadelphia, with Garrett still president and Frank is still vice president. Here's a 1918 article, August 7th. Never before in the history of Milford has there been such hot days as yesterday and today. The temperature at 3 p.m. on Tuesday was 109, and today it was 112. This beats any record since 1872, which was 105. The Caulk Company laid off their men at noon on both days. Now here's a 1918 magazine ad for Caulk's copper cement. And here's a 1920 newspaper ad for denture cream cleaner. In 1925, here's an article talking about how a company called Med-A-Dent is suing for damages from the Caulk company for libel. Now this is regarding an article published by the Caulk company. Apparently the article was warning the public that Med-A-Dent products weren't performing as well as they had advertised. Now the trial lasted a week and the Caulk company was found not guilty of libel. Now here's a 1926 full-page special in the paper. I had to break it down into 3 pieces, so here's the first piece. It says, "Home of the LD Caulk Company, a notable scientific research organization that for over 50 years has been developing and supplying dental materials." Now this one's labeled Main Plant. It talks about how Camden was the first site, but that it was moved to Milford. Now this piece says, "The largest manufacturers of dental filling materials in the world," and it lists some of the other locations: Toronto, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Huntington, Virginia. These photos seem to be all from the Milford site though. Now here's what the building looks like in the 1950s. And here it actually still stands today. I'm always happy when they're still standing. Now we've actually heard about these guys in a few of our videos. The Bird Atlantic Expedition is again mentioned here because apparently Dr. Nelson from our LD Caulk company treated the crew prior to their trip and after they returned. Upon returning, it says that nearly every member of the expedition had poison pockets and abscesses. It talks about their treatments. Now this 1934 article talks about how almost 40 years after Caulk's death, his buddy, Dr. Garrett Leighton Greer, is still president of the company, and it mentions that it's the largest dental laboratory in the world. Here's a photo of him on the left. In 1937, one of the 2 original brothers, Frank Greer, he died. Now remember, he's the one who married Caulk's daughter Florence. Here's a 1943 article talking about the company receiving a E flag, which is for production excellence of materials needed for the armed forces. Now the following year, in 1944, Garrett Leighton Greer died. It's about this time that some of the second generation of Greers started running things. So about 20 years after Garrett Leighton Greer died, in 1963, a company called Dentsply acquired the Caulk company. Now here's an article from 1988. Now this guy, William Powell, is retiring from the Caulk company after working there for 63 years in the mailroom. He was awarded with a savings bond and a plaque for his faithful and loyal service. President Reagan also sent him a letter. Now this article about him also states that Caulk is still the largest manufacturer of dental supplies in the United States. Now Dentsply still occupies the Caulk building today. So now my question is, what was this cement for? Well, I've got to tell you, when I first started this video, I had no idea that this cement had anything to do with dental supplies. It said Caulk's copper cement, and I thought it was maybe something along the lines of rubber cement. Apparently, this cement was used in fillings for cavities, as well as bridges and crowns. It came in different colors, black, white, and red. And I'm not sure why there would be black or red colors, but I'm sure there's a perfectly good explanation somewhere. So anyways, here's my little bottle. It has a snug cork stopper. The bottle itself is less than 2 inches tall. There's a 31 at the bottom, but I doubt that's the date. I would think it dates from around the time of this ad in 1918, although I am sure they probably could have packaged this type of bottle into the 30s. Anyways, that'll do it for this episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.